What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Patrick Sheehan, and I'm here with my co-host, Dave Martinson. Dave, what'd you think about that Star Wars Episode 8 trailer, man?
Well, I've listened to a lot of people talk about it and read tweets and seen all the gifs, but I haven't watched it yet because I ain't about those spoilers and misdirects. So don't be knowing.
Yeah, there's plenty of misdirects in there, especially this at the ending. I don't know how much you know about it, and I don't think this will
I
spoil
know what
anything
happens
for you.
basically.
But basically, yeah, like at one point, Kylo's like reaching out, and Daisy Ridley's like, "I need someone to show me my place in all this," and Kylo's like reaching his hand out. They're definitely not talking to each other. At least that would be my prediction in this. But it was a great trailer. Very excited for the movie. You bet your ass will be talking about it. And if you want to get our thoughts about Star Wars Episode 8, subscribe down there.
Yeah.
And share us with friends so we can grow.
Yeah.
Give us a rating and review on iTunes. Go to soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. Support the podcast.
Hoodie
please.
Allen listens to the pod. You should too. So tell your friends.
I need a Boogie with a Hoodie to listen next, and then we'll be covering all our hoodie bases. So why don't we jump right into it? There's a lot of music that came out this weekend. We had Pink, Gucci Mane, King Cruel.
Yep.
Who else here?
Liam Gallagher.
Yeah, Liam Gallagher. It's interesting with the Gallagher brothers. Like, who cares if they're not with Oasis?
Yeah, I know. I think the other one was it Noah?
Yeah, Noel.
He's dropping this year as well. But
With
yeah,
the High Flying Birds.
I think it might be a solo actually, but
oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, but who cares? Like, he's how old is he? He's like 45. Like, come on, you're not Jay-Z. I don't care about you when you're old.
Yeah, exactly. So we picked out the three that we were probably most interested in, and we're gonna be talking about Beck, Wu-Tang, and St. Vincent today. Maybe eventually we'll get to some of those other albums, but we wanted to go with some of the OGs who are still pumping out some solid music. And why don't we start with Beck? Morning Phase, Beck's Grammy Award-winning, Album of the Year winning. Most recent album came out in 2014.
Yeah, and then it won the Grammys like about exactly a year later. So like the 2015 Grammys was when he won.
When he invited Kanye West up on stage with him, when Kanye joked about going up.
Beyonce, man, she got robbed.
I don't think she got robbed. No, I don't think so either. And didn't she win last year, right? Lemonade won last year.
No, fucking Adele won.
Oh, that's right, Adele won. That's funny. Adele's such a goddamn powerhouse when it comes to the Grammys.
I know. Also, hot take: Adele's a singles artist.
Yeah,
just gonna leave that there.
I don't think her albums are that cohesive. But anyways, jumping back to Beck, Morning Phase is a very subdued, small album, very quiet, a lot of acoustic, which is interesting because Beck, when he started out back in, we broke out 94, what kind of was this funny, but I don't know, he was just very outgoing, very unique. He had a crazy kind of sound and songwriting style. And then he went on to do all this other stuff. Like, he created this band, and when he would perform, they would have choreographed dances and became very glitzy and glammy, and then would change to more classic rock sound. So he really likes to experiment. But Morning Phase was a very subdued album, but the one that gained him probably the most critical attention. Here he is, 2017, with Colors. And Dave, what were your initial thoughts listening to this album?
Yeah, so I didn't really know what to expect because, similar to what you were just saying, I mean, if you look up things about Beck, they don't really know how to classify his genre because he's been around and he's done so much. So he's like a multi-instrumentalist. And I think that's what's, so great about Morning Phase is that he made the album himself, right? Like, he did all the production and all the instruments and obviously the singing. So he's an incredibly talented guy. So I didn't really know what to expect from the sound, but Colors, 40 minutes, and it was just really poppy. A lot of really joyful, lively pop rock.
Yep.
and I thought it was it's a nice joyous listen.
Yeah, it's anchored by the singles that people have probably heard over the last 2 years, "Dreams" and "Wow," which
Yeah,
"Wow" was everywhere. It was in a
I
commercial that
can't
I
remember.
heard all the time.
Yeah, I mean that song. When I listened to the album, I was like, my ears popped like, oh yeah, this is old, isn't it? Like I'm not a
Yep.
Beck guy, but I'm like I know this is old, and yeah, it's like almost a year and a half old. It was last summer,
Yep.
so
Yeah, and
it was
"Dreams" came
kind of
out 2 years ago.
oh wow. So he was literally like pulling a Drake and putting Hotline Bling on the album to get those streams up.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is he not only put a mix of Dreams on there, but then he actually
Yeah,
ended the album with Dreams. Like, all right.
thought that's come on, that's you're a little too pro to do that in my opinion. Like not
I
necessary.
agree. But I agree with your initial take with being a very poppy album. Like songs like Seventh Heaven sound very like 80s ish. Dear Life kind of had like this like older school pop vibe from like the 60s or 70s. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a really fun album, and it's way more accessible than Morning Phase. Which I mean, Morning Phase is really like you wake up, make a pot of coffee, and like sit down, listen to it. This is like something you'd actually dance to and want to enjoy.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you have any song off the album other than the singles that seemed to really like catch you?
I mean, not really. I think but it just flow together. So I think
Hmm.
that's why nothing like besides the singles I had recognized jumped out. But I mean, I think it. I didn't think there was much of a low point. I
Yeah,
thought it moved pretty briskly, and again, like it's upbeat, so it's fun to listen to.
yeah. Colors and Seventh Heaven were the first two songs were really stood out to me. Also, shout out to his producer, who we mentioned also produced the Foo Fighters album. Uh, his name is Greg Kurstin. Yeah, Greg Kurstin. This was recorded at his studio in LA, and he seems to be an up and coming rock pop
Mm,
influence in producing. So someone I have a feeling we'll be talking a lot more about. But I'd give this a solid B plus
yeah.
for an album. And Beck is just he makes quality stuff all the time.
So I mean, it's very poppy, but in terms of like the rock releases of the year, this is probably towards the top, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're gonna talk about Saint Vincent, who I thought also had a really strong showing, but um,
Yeah,
sorry,
nice.
the alarms behind me going crazy. Um, but I thought LCD Sound System had a really strong
Yeah.
one this year. Slow Dive is someone I haven't listened to yet, but I heard was pretty good. White Reaper as well.
You like this more than Foo Fighters and Killers, which you kind of gave, passing marks to.
Yeah, I would say that this is up there along with like Bleachers and maybe even Phoenix. Like Phoenix's album is
Nice.
something one I have to go back and listen to, but I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, it's definitely up there. It'll probably make one of my best of lists for the year.
Yeah, it definitely belongs with Phoenix and Bleachers and LCD in terms of just like the dancier,
Yeah.
more lively rock. Which I mean, we've talked about rock a lot, but I think that's kind of a sound that's more appealing to more people. Whereas, I mean, it's not Queens of Stone Age. It's a little more accessible. So
Yeah, it's just
interesting choice.
more enjoyable for sure. But why don't we jump to something? I'm gonna let you kind of take the lead on this. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Dropped their is
Yeah.
this only their sixth studio album?
Is it sixth or seventh? I wrote it down. Yeah,
Um, the saga
yeah.
continues.
Seventh album technically, but it's being labeled as a compilation album, not a studio album. So
Right.
uh, I guess you can factor that in when you're grading the album. But yeah, the saga continues. It's their first album since 2014, first DJ Mathematics album since 2013, and Mathematics produced the whole thing, did all the beats, and you can kind of tell because the whole thing sounds the same. And that's kind of, just to jump in, that's kind of my both I think a positive and a negative for me is that this
Mhm.
sounds very old school New York. And while we applaud guys like Joey Badass for being having a throwback sound, I think in the case of the Wu-Tang Clan, where you have all these guys coming together, they're all in their 40s. It's not as interesting to hear them do the same thing they've always done, even
Mhm.
if they're doing it well still. So I mean, what would you think of listen?
In listening, my initial thought was these guys are still really good at rapping.
Right,
You
like
know,
technical ability, bars,
exactly.
rhymes, that kind of stuff.
And I thought the beats sounded very classic, but kind of like you said, there and we've kind of talked about this. How does like a rapper keep his relevance? Like Jay-Z had a lot of misses, and then he 444 comes out, and he finally changed up what he's actually talking about, and that
Right.
it was more fitting for where he was at and where he's actually like what his experiences are, and it feels more authentic. And I think that's kind of the thing with Wu-Tang is that, like you said, these guys are kind of talking about the same thing they've always talked about, and it just doesn't seem like that's probably where they're actually at in their lives, and it's a little bit harder to really sink into and enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this year I saw Wu-Tang Clan perform at Governor's Ball, then I saw Ghostface Killah do a solo set at the Meadows,
Hmm.
and they're both awesome. Like these guys are still at the top of their game, and
Yeah,
seeing the whole Wu-Tang Clan, minus ODB of course, they're still killing it. They're just, but when you see them perform, they're running off all their hits on 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever albums that came out in '93 and '97.
hmm,
Like they're not gonna, they might play one song off the Saga Continues, which is this new album. So it's kind of like I don't think we need more of this. And
no,
this is kind of like, this is an example of where I point to people like that, people that like to discredit large parts of modern rap, whether it's trappers or SoundCloud rappers or even like someone like Drake. Like, oh, there's no lyrics, the bars don't matter. I'm like, bars aren't everything, and I think an album like this is Public Enemy #1. Like, the great bars, they're there, but it doesn't make me want to listen to it all the time.
yeah, yeah. I listened to it right after I woke up the other morning, and I was sitting. I was like, these guys still, these songs sound really good, but I just couldn't really care about what they were saying, and
Right.
it's
I
kind of
think a part of that, is that the Wu-Tang Clan, like overall solo and as a group, they have been just less relevant through
yeah.
the mid 2000s onwards. So I think it's a byproduct. Like I think Nas has an album coming out, and I think that'll be much more exciting than this.
Hmm.
So I think that's kind of to factor in, like RZA, like he's like the mastermind of Wu Tang, but he's done like lots of movie stuff, both acting and like
Yeah.
producing. So like they really branched out, and Method Man, he's still like the best of the group, but he's also doing, he's in the Deuce, killing it right now as one of the pimps. Like again, like
Right.
I think it's just one of the things they do now because they're all these successful OGs.
Hmm.
So I think if you're
What would
interested
you
in
like to
Wu-Tang,
hear
listen
Wu-Tang
to it.
do? Like, what would have been, you think, a better move for them?
Uh, so yeah, like I don't think they would collaborate with many people. I think like listen to the album, they keep it all in house, one
Mhm.
producer, all the members, and then they have like one or two some choruses from guests, right?
Right.
And again, this is a compilation album. Maybe if it was a true studio album where they actually were all in the lab actually cooking it up,
Hmm.
maybe they would do something. So I do want to give it a pass in that regard because I do think this is this kind of collection of songs they've all kind of just recorded and they want to put something out. Um, which is funny because that's actually the word on what that Martin Shkreli album that he bought was.
Fucking
Like
good.
RZA said, he never listened to Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, which is the album that Martin Shkreli bought. So it sounds like some Wu-Tang affiliates basically cobbled up some old like studio recordings
Mhm.
and sold him like a crap, not authentic Wu-Tang album. So I think that's great because
Yeah.
fuck that guy.
Yeah. Fuck Martin Shkreli for real. He's still in jail, right?
Yeah, well, didn't he? Something happened in his trial recently that was like good for us, bad for him. I forgot what happened, but
There was
yeah,
like I remember they were trying to find jurors, and one of the jurors that they had to excuse came out, and they were like, why couldn't you stand on the jury for them?" And they're just like, he disrespected the Wu-Tang Clan.
yeah,
Like that was his whole reason for not being able to have a fair trial. So
yeah.
fucking awesome. And yeah, again, fuck Martin Shkreli. All right, so why don't we jump to St. Vincent here real quick? Um, it's so funny because St. Vincent is someone that I remember like listening to after Kid Cudi featured her on his second album
Man in the Moon too.
uh, for that song. It's like "Make the Black Hole Blacker." I forgot what the name of the
Yeah, I'm not
song is.
familiar. I don't remember that song, but yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah, so after hearing the song and hearing the girl's voice, and I checked it out, and it was from one of the early St. Vincent albums. But this mass seduction. I want to say mass education every time, but it's mass
Wait,
seduction.
yeah, it isn't mass education, right? It's mass
No,
seduction.
it's mass seduction, and that's actually one of the songs on there. But every time I see it, I want to say mass education. It's her fifth studio album. Annie Clark, she won, or she got a lot of love for her last album. She didn't win the award, but she got a lot of love for her last album.
That was really like her
Titled.
coming out party album. Like, welcome to the mainstream. Welcome to the media. All knows who you are, and we'll write about you a lot now. Like, that was her moment, which was what, 2014, 15?
Yeah. And secretly, she's one of the like most renowned guitarists now in rock music.
Yeah, interesting.
Which is interesting because I feel like when people talk about it, they think about like like John Frusciante, no, gets a lot of love, John Mayer, Jack White, like those kind of people. But Annie Clark, like secretly just one of those most solid musicians, kind of like Beck. What did you think about this? I mean, have you ever listened to a St. Vincent album before?
Yeah, I mean, so generally, like she's not like my style. Around her last album when it came out, just I saw the buzz and I wanted to, like see what was up. Like it's like, oh, like an artist I'm not familiar with. Usually I know everyone who's on these lists at least in some capacity. So I wanted to, get familiar, stay woke.
Sure.
So this album, I was actually kind of interested in it. I knew she had so much clout, and I listened to it, and I think it's really, I think it kind of jumps all over the place in sound, at least towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that the song "Pills," which is I believe the second track, that song fucking rocks. That's an excellent song.
Mm-hmm. You want to know who produced that song?
Oh, the dude, the
Jack Antonoff.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So it's basically Greg Kurstin and Jack Antonoff producing like every big rock album this year. It seems like.
Interesting.
Anyways, yeah, man, Pills is a great song. I also think Los Angeles and New York are really good. Those are two of the singles that she dropped.
I think Los Angeles is really strong.
Overall, it's just the kind of album where, like you said, it kind of jumps around in sound throughout, but it also felt a little bit more cohesive than something that is so all over the place. I think that speaks to just how she's able to pull these different threads together and build songs with concepts that all kind of have like one theme. This seemed to be also something that she drew from a lot of different experiences on. Doing a little background reading on it, I guess she's like recorded some of the stuff like on her phone or like through text messages, things like that. So she's been like kind of working on this for the last 3 years to really like pull it all together. And Kamasi Washington is also on this, along with Jenny Lewis. So some good guests. I don't know. It's a solid album. I'd probably give it probably around the same as Beck. I say that they're very similar. I said that before, but I just really think their work is quality.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think we be a little more specific. It's kind of like a pop
glam
sound.
rock.
Like, I don't know. He's kind of like how like when you try and like put a genre on like Father John Misty, you're kind of just selling him short by trying to like explain it. And I think that's kind of the thing with St. Vincent. Like you listen to songs like Savior and Young Lover, and then they're so vastly different from like Pills at the top of the album or even the singles like you mentioned. So definitely a diverse album. Yeah, I think glam is I think a good way to put it. How would you think of this compared to Lord? I immediately started thinking of Lord as I was listening.
Interesting. Well, I don't know how much Lord actually does, like how much work she actually does like sonically on her albums, which is why I'd probably give like St. Vincent a leg up in terms of like artistry. But I think Melodrama is a much better album. It's more cohesive as a concept and just overall like what she's trying to say. But I mean,
better concept too.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think Amy Clark is just so talented. It's interesting you said Lord. I had never even thought about that comparison. Huh. Well, what about it brought her to mind for you?
I guess maybe it was the Jack Antonoff in the back of my head. I don't know.
He's just inceptioning all of us.
Yeah. But yeah, so we recommend. I think we recommend all 3 albums depending on what your taste is, right? I think that's
Right.
fair.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I wonder. Did you see if Gucci Mane was getting any love with his album?
Yeah. So Mr. Davis, it's Gucci's I think 11th album. I jumped around and listened to some of the features. I mean, there's some good stuff on there.
Okay,
I Get the Bag
interesting.
with Migos came out a while ago. That's a smash single for him. They got like 90 million views already on that one. Um, I think the most interesting thing about this was leading up to it. Gucci did a 30-minute interview with Malcolm Gladwell, and it's all on Gucci's YouTube channel, and that's great. Like Gucci,
Really?
ever since he got out of jail, he's like he sounds clear both in his music and interviews. He's actually like really self-aware and really woke, and I actually really enjoy listening to Gucci speak because I think he's really through his life experiences and finally like getting out of jail and like turning his life around. He seems like a really I don't know, he's got a good perspective on the rap game. So it's interesting to hear him talking. A guy like
Gucci and
Malcolm
Gladwell.
Gladwell,
Yeah.
Gladwell's his favorite author, and he read all of Gladwell's books when he was in
Ah,
jail. So that's the reason. But
those
yeah,
10,000.
exactly. I mean, he wrote like
Well,
10,000 songs, so I guess clearly.
Oh, interesting. I'll actually I might check that interview out. Why don't we jump though from I guess one of the song titles on St. Vincent's album was New York, and then a show that's supposed to be taking place in New York, Mr. Robot. So back for its 3rd season, Sam Esmail's baby. It's gotten a lot of love critically. The 1st season did, 2nd season not as much. Starring Rami Malek, he's back playing Elliot, but also has Christian Slater, Portia Doubleday, who
Martin
plays Darlene?
Wallstrom.
Yeah,
Darlene is Carly Chaikin, and then
Carly Chaikin.
got
And
Bobby
BD
Cannavale
Wong.
back, and yeah, BD Wong is actually a series regular this series, not a guest actor. So will be more White Rose season.
That's
3.
excellent. So just I mean, this was it's hard to like really describe Mr. Robot, I feel like, because like to summarize it all, you really need to like be involved with the show, especially because the 2nd season was a bit bloated at points, and we talked about that. Check that out, soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. But I mean, basically, what Elliot is the main character. He's dealing with some sort of personality or mental health disorder, something along those lines, where he takes on the personality or the persona of his dad. Kind
Right.
of. It's like his dad, but like more serious and
Well,
cynical.
I'd say it's the motivations of his dad. Has dad been alive? If you
Right.
learn what happens to his dad, then it makes a little more sense there, and his family in general. But yeah, I mean, that's the IMDb description of Mr. Robot.
Sure.
Anyone who watches the show obviously knows that
There's
it's
a lot
really,
more to it.
of course. I mean, and I think you mentioned season 2 getting so season 1 smash hit zeitgeist show, right? This is and unlike a show like Westworld that's actually like deserved all the hype because it was really smart, and even if some of the twists were something we may have seen before in other films, they were still executed so well, and the show had so much style that it immediately stands out. Now season 2, without really getting into it, I think there was just twists for having twist sakes, a little extra plot,
Right.
not extra plot, extra characters, and no real movement of the plot at all. There was the plot moving at such a glacial pace, and what we did spend time with regarding Elliot as being the sole focus of the show for most of the season was ultimately, I think, to the show's detriment. Even if I still found the show very compelling through 2 seasons.
Right.
But I think that's what I like about this premiere is that it kind of resets the deck a little bit, and you can see that because a lot of the supporting characters weren't in this premiere.
Yeah, and it jumps right into it. I mean, compared to the first 4 episodes of last season and this episode, there was so much plot movement just within like the first hour compared to what, like 4.5 and of last season. So what, just to kind of start off, and I guess we'll say spoilers just because I think it's hard to really talk about what's happening on the show without giving some sort of spoilers away. I mean, there's a lot of questions I think coming that we come away from this with. Basically, I think where I'm left most is this going to be a show that turns into something about like supernatural or multiple timelines, or
Hmm.
I don't know,
I don't think so.
because when Portia Doubleday's Angela is talking to Elliot, and it's like, what if I told you we could go back and change everything even before like our parents? Like, what did you make of that?
Yeah, for sure. I have no idea. Because Elliot's like, yeah, it's not possible. And
Right.
then she has a weird look in her eye. So I fuck if I know what that means. I think like what happens in this premiere? Elliot closes the back door that they had set up for stage 2 of their
Or tries to.
assault on Evil Corp. Yeah, or attempts to, and they might have undone it
Mhm.
already. But again, like it's kind of like resetting the stage a little bit.
They go
But
to the coolest like gamer rave of all time.
yeah, geez, I mean, talking about like I don't know. Personally, like as
Romanticized.
someone who's not a hacker, I thought that actually painted hackers in like the worst light ever. Because like, oh yeah, like there's no power, and everyone got worse since the 5.9 hack, and all the
Yeah.
hackers are just dicking around in this rave place. Don't give a fuck
Yeah, it
about
was
anyone. It's like, yeah,
strange.
that's kind of like stereotypical like negative hacker view, which is
Yep.
interesting because Mr. Robot has always portrayed hacking really like correctly. Like it doesn't have the rapid typing on the keyboard. It's always been really
Mhm.
accurate and realistic. So I thought that was an interesting, great scene. But I thought that was an interesting look for hackers as a group.
Yeah, it also felt like they were just trying to make a really loud scene so that then Elliot could do his like, aren't these the moments where you wish you could just like mute the world and like take the sound out?
Yeah.
Like it almost was like they just set it up for something like that to really like use that effect in a way. I don't know. Yeah, and I guess just kind of going with it, where it gets to kind of is, that you find out that like the Dark Army, basically China's like F society in a way, is basically like on Elliot's tail, like knows like what's going on, kind of, sort of. The FBI is following Darlene, and they're basically just trying to figure out how to like stop whatever happened to the 5.9 hack, like go back. Elliot's feeling a lot of guilt from that, and then Angela basically we find out she's aware of Elliot's two personalities and is
Mhm.
like the one managing him.
Yeah.
So
She
it's
and not only that, she's in the bag with the Dark Army. Like,
right. And Elliot's going to try to get a job at Evil Corp to fix things, which will be interesting as well. Almost like going inside.
mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's hard to like really talk about the show. I feel like because there's so many unknowns to it. Also, we didn't even see Dom in this episode. Like, what's going to happen with her?
Yeah, no Dom, no Joanna, no Philip Price,
Right.
um, as well as some other smaller characters like Trent and Mobley and Leon. But yeah, I mean,
Oh, I'm pretty sure Mobley's dead, right?
no, I mean they both, all three of them were doing like working at Walmart or whatever. Remember?
Yeah, but
They all
didn't Joey
survived.
Badass show up at the end? It's like, wasn't that
Yeah,
like the
well,
last thing?
but he's like a Dark Army operative, so I
Oh, so
don't.
you think they're with them, the Dark Army?
I assume unless he was helping them out. I don't know. Like, I mean,
Interesting.
you think he just stabbed them? I don't know. I think it'll come up at some point. But I mean, I like what they do with Angela in this premiere because it gave her a lot more agency and her motivations were kind of unclear in season 2. Like she was
Hmm.
kind of like Philip Price was trying to work her and she kind of knew it, and but like we didn't know what Angela's game was, even though we knew she was like really smart and
Right.
was kind of sick of trying to take down Evil Corp the correct way. So, but now she's with the Dark Army and she rebuffs Elliot's kiss, and she's not telling Elliot that his Mr. Robot persona is around, and so I like that they're giving Angela her as a character more to do that's kind of about her. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that seemed to be kind of a theme of this episode. Even though Elliot is obviously the main character still, and a lot of it centers around how he deals with having this split personality in a way. Um, like you see Darlene like suffering with like PTSD or like some sort of anxiety after effects. Like when she's at that rave and goes into the other room and just screams because she's feeling so nervous, and seeing like other characters and how they're impacted, but also like playing this like different but important role within all of it is really interesting. White Rose is still probably the most intriguing character on the show, just because you've seen him, her, as a female, as the, like, what is it, the secretary of whatever for
Yeah,
Chinese
right,
government,
right.
like,
So like White Rose she's the leader of the Dark Army.
right.
Meanwhile, uh, whatever her identity is publicly as the head of like the head of like he's like the head of the Chinese Federal Reserve, whatever it is,
Hmm.
and that role he works with Philip Price, the head of Evil Corp. So I don't know what the fuck White Rose's motivations are. Like, what were they trying to do? Because playing both sides right now.
And it seemed to be kind of what he was explaining about how Edward Alderson, Elliot's dad, Mr. Robot, however you want to call him, kind of created this whole mess where then the Chinese government was able to swoop in, and that kind of opened the back door for like the Dark Army with all of this. So it's kind of
Right.
interesting to see how like this like goes deeper than just Elliot wanting to like fix society in a way, trying to like pull in how his father actually kind of led him to this. It's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you have any predictions for this season?
No, not at all.
Yeah, this is a show
I
it's
don't.
almost impossible to
I
predict.
don't. And that's the thing too. I think theories, theory culture is. There's plenty of Reddit's about Mr. Robot. Don't get me wrong, but
Hmm.
like, it's not the main appeal. The only appeal of Westworld was trying to figure
Right.
out what the fuck was going on. Mr. Robot,
Hmm.
it's a show about the style, and like we're there for Sam Esmail's awesome world. Like cyberpunk New York City. That's modern day. Like
Yeah.
it's fucking cool. You know, and of course
Yeah.
the characters are good, the writing's good, and yeah, there was too many twists last season. It seems from all the advanced press I've read that this is a return to form. Awesome. So yeah, predictions. It's not even something I worry about.
Yeah, I think one of the things also is just the cinematography of the show is still top notch and so unique. Like the way that
Yeah.
Esmail like minimizes your focus to like one quarter of the screen sometimes, and then will also just like transition to other shots, like that final shot where it's Angela and Mr. Robot on the bus after Angela gives that like sort of naive, sort of knowing like monologue about things, and you see the bus going, and like each light comes on as like the power dork,
Yep.
and it's almost like it's following Angela and Mr. Robot. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then when Elliot's walking down the street delivering that self-reflection monologue,
Yep.
all that visual storytelling you're getting in the background about the state of the world
Hmm.
for camera without any stupid exposition-y dialogue. You don't need any of that. We see it as Elliot's talking. So I thought, Esmail has his hands all over the show because he really controls everything about it. So, someone like Noah Hall we talk about a lot. He's a rising TV auteur for the
Hmm.
post golden age peak TV era.
Definitely, definitely. Also, shout out to Daft Punk, Random Access Memories, Deep Cut Touch, making it for the end of the show. One of their like one of the songs off the album that I thought was
Mm-hmm.
really good at the time, but just obviously being EDM and also like an obscure Daft Punk song, never really got any love. But
For sure. Oh, you mean that really overrated album? What? That
not
album?
dude, that they just got lucky.
Exactly.
um. Anyways, is there any last thoughts on Mr. Robot, or you want to just wrap it up?
No, I mean, please watch the show.
Watch this
Please,
show.
please
Yeah.
catch up if you. I mean, honestly, if you start the show now, everything we just said won't make much sense and stick in your brain anyway. Still watch the
Yeah.
show.
Please.
It's superb, and
Yeah.
it has unique style. Even if it
Mhm.
has had ups and downs last year, it still stands out.
Mhm.
And the fact that USA lets Esmail just fucking cook, make that Play-Doh work.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see.
And it's such a different story than you usually get on TV, so it's worth the watch just for like the story and the concept alone. But we'll wrap it up there. Follow Dave at Martin Swagger. Follow myself at Sheen World Peace, and follow the show at Nowstalgia Pod. Tweet at us with anything you want us to cover, any feedback, we appreciate it. What do we got on the docket for next week, Dave?
You're gonna listen to that Niall Horan solo album from One Direction?
No, not gonna do that. What else we got on the docket for next week?
Yeah, so no movies. Rob Stone's album comes out. Maybe I'll talk about that. TV, not really ready for that yet. I think we can talk some industry.
Okay, sounds good.
About. So stay tuned. If you have some status, obviously, let us know.
Is the Deuce almost up? It gotta be on its last episode.
There's 2 more episodes of the Deuce.
Okay, gotta catch back up. I keep going in waves.
Yep. Yeah, I love the Deuce. Deuce is great.
So yeah, we'll be talking some industry stuff. Anything you want us to talk about, let us know. But until next week, we love you. Peace out.